Welcome to Clash of Lords 2 Battle Royale Strategy Episode 3. Today we're going to cover Cloister of Terrors, and I'm going to show you some attacks I made on Carol DeBell. We're going to start out by going through my lineup here, and I apologize in advance. I recorded the actual hit that you're going to see last night, but due to moving on through Battle Royale, I had to change my lineup soon after, and I didn't get a chance to grab a picture of exactly how I had it configured, so I've tried to recreate it here as close as I possibly could. And this lineup is a lineup that you probably have seen in a few other videos. I think it's a pretty common lineup to use on the weaker heroes in Battle Royale in the upper stages, the ones that can't lock you out or do a bunch of damage or avoid a bunch of your damage necessarily. And I want to go ahead and give a shout out to Sir Cyber right about now, because I just saw a picture of him using this lineup, probably with a lot better aids and better weapons, to nail Carol for 512 million damage. That's right, that's 500 million damage he did in one hit. That is ridiculous, and is quite a bit better than what you're going to see me do here in a little bit. But he will have used the same strategy, probably executed it a little bit better than I did, but we'll show you that here in a few minutes. So one thing I want to say is, on this stage you do not want to be running any swords. Swords make lightning jump throughout other buildings, and they can trigger the other heroes, and then the other heroes come and you have to fight multiples, and your damage goes down and your heroes start dying. It's a terrible time for all. So you want to make sure that you unequip all of your swords off your mains in order to maximize the amount of time that you're hitting only Carol. Secondly, you want to run primarily offensive weapons. This is not necessarily a stage where I think you need a heart on your tank, which should be a berserker, unless your aids and berserker are very weak and you think he might need the additional survivability. Berserker is the all-star of this team. He's incredibly important for his skill, and not necessarily because it does things like stun and a little bit of damage. What it does is applies a debuff that makes the target take 100% more damage. So that's like the equivalent of your berserker bringing an extra Wrath, an extra Ambrosia, an extra Renee Ven, an extra Skull Mage, and all their mercs with him. Say, go ahead and let's all beat up twice as much on this guy. In this case, this chick. So Berserker is a must-have if you want to hit these kind of scores on this stage. Secondly, you'll see I have Wrath here. Wrath could also be a Pangoli if you don't have a good Wrath. Basically, you're just looking for another hero that has wizards that will synergize with Skull Mage's Divine, which is kind of the power behind this team as far as kicking up the damage of all your mercs and your heroes. Next we have Ambrosia. Again, you just want a hero that's got wizards. She also happens to be incredibly strong on her own, and also provides you with that little bit of healing that you might need to keep your berserker alive. Renee Ven is kind of off here. You would think, well, she doesn't have wizards, so why would you use her? If you look at Renee Ven's Divine, and I'll go ahead and pull it up really quick here so we can all take a quick look at it. So you're going to see that this Divine skill, when she uses it, actually recovers a Divine for another hero. If you're not familiar, the way it works is if you use a hero's Divine and then use Renee Ven afterwards, it's going to give that hero, that previous hero, back their Divine. So you always need to make sure that you use Renee Ven's Divine immediately after using Skull Mage's Divine in order to get his back. I will say, however, that you do want to wait until Skull Mage completes the action of using his Divine. I've noticed it's a little buggy, and if you hit it too soon, like immediately after, you won't actually get Skull Mage's Divine back, and then it's just kind of wasted. So, you know, wait until you see the animation of Skull Mage going immune, and then hit Renee Ven's Divine, you get Skull Mage's Divine back. So that's why we use her. And then lastly, we've got Skull Mage, and as I'm sure you're all familiar with by now, he's got an incredibly powerful Divine that pumps up the attack power of all of your wizard mercenaries in addition to himself, and that makes, in combination with Berserker, just makes you do absurd amounts of damage. As far as aids go, I think it's important on your tank, your Berserker, to run the standard damage reduction survivability aids. Perhaps if mine were all 200s and I had better weapons, I wouldn't need to do that. He'd be a lot tougher, but mine are still working on powering those guys up, so I'm running the full complement of survivability aids there, and then on everybody else I'm just kind of running whatever the best damage aids I have left over are. If you have Demon Slayers, they're fantastic because they give you extra mercenaries. And matter of fact, my Skull Mage has Art of War, so he has extra mercenaries already. And that's just because the wizards are pumping out, you know, two wizards are probably pumping out nearly as much damage as the Skull Mage is, minus crits. I'm running a great Sage on Renee Ven. That's kind of just because I ran out of other heroes that would really do something offensively. I could have went with like Abyss Demon, but an area of effect attack isn't going to really do anything against Carol because I'm fighting her by herself. So I figure, you know, a couple monkeys, why not? Maybe Snowy will focus on those for a second, and I won't have to heal my Berserker as much. We've got some Chiron aids. I've been told that it's Chiron, and I used to call it Chiron. I make a lot of mistakes like that, so if you hear me mispronounce something and you know that it's supposed to be said differently, please let me know in the comments. But I've got Chiron on Ambrosia to increase his attack. I've also got an Arcane Caster there who's not really going to give me a whole lot here, but again, I'm just kind of short on good damage aids at that point, and she's high level, so I use her. And then on Wrath, I'm running a couple of other aids that pump up his attack and his damage just to get a little bit more going there. So that's the lineup. Like I said, this strategy can be used to hit upwards of 500 million damage if you've got the right amount of power behind your weapons and your aids. And you'll see that while I don't do quite nearly that much, I do a pretty good hit on this guy. I can't remember exactly how many percent it is, but it's quite a bit. So we'll be back after the jump and I'll show you the hit. So here we have the actual hit, and you'll see I'm going to drop in the far south corner. I'm going to start out with my Berserker. I'm going to pretty much hit his Divine right away, get my Mercs out to take some of the damage off of those victory statues there, and hopefully engage Carol sooner. I'm relatively new to this strategy, as I mentioned, so you're going to see that I actually use my Berserker skill here when I shouldn't have. I should have waited until everybody else was out, and I probably should have dropped my other heroes a little bit early. That will have cost me some damage here. I don't know exactly how much, but I definitely left some millions on the field with that use of skills. So right away I'm going to get into getting my Mercs buffed up, and this is another place where ideally what you would want to do is drop everybody down, engage Carol, hit your Berserker, hit your Skull Mage skill, and then hit your Skull Mage Divine right away. And then immediately upon hitting the Divine, you're going to use Renee Ven's Divine to get Skull Mage Divine back, assuming your Renee Ven is Pisces, and again, this only really works with the Pisces Renee Ven. And every time for the first 4 times you use your Skull Mage, you're going to drop an Allied Winds. So that's going to give you 2 of them during his Divine immunity with the buff, and then 2 that are not. I've also experimented with dropping 2 Divine Winds at a time because they can stack, and often you'll have enough targets on the field that not all of them are getting it from a single spell. It's been tough for me because of the nature of having a guild that's competing for the top ranks, and the speed in which we have to clear to try and keep up with everybody else. It's been difficult for me to do multiple hits in a row and then test out, you know, one versus the other. But I see in a lot of other videos this is how it's done, so this is what I've been trying lately. It seems to be working pretty well. I think my damage here would definitely be improved if I had some better aids. An extra couple blockhead aids would be really nice. Unfortunately, I dusted an early blockhead aid when I was trying to build up some of my other PvP aids. And then some more levels on my main heroes would be nice. The Mercs on all of my wizards here are maxed out. My Renee Ven Mercs are not. They still need a little bit of work. But I just started using Renee Ven. I just got her to Pisces a couple days ago. And it's been pretty good. So you can see 270 mil just about. And that's Carol DeBell and Cloister of Terrors.